A dear friend of mine and I caught up on the phone this week. She was telling me about the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic in her town. She shared a specific situation about how local citizens in her city have been given the role of determining, with the input of the larger community, what will happen with her child's public school next fall. Then she said to me, "Well, Mo, it's all very complicated. I'll just have to leave it up to God." Now, I responded trying to be a friend, but also one who is a rabbi. I said to her that actually Jewish tradition takes a clear stand on how God has given each of us and all of us the responsibility to build and repair our world. It's as if God has said to us, it's all very complicated, but I have provided humanity with the highest of standards on how to live, and I've decided I'll be leaving it up to them. My friend was a bit surprised by this. After all, she had heard others say, let's just leave it up to God before. And she was familiar broadly with stories from the Torah where God does intercede. Stories such as those in this week's dramatic and unsettling portion, Parshat Korach. Korach is the cousin of Moses and Aaron and a tribal leader who gathers 250 other chieftains and thousands of other Israelites in a revolt against Moses' leadership. Referencing important events in recent Jewish history of our ancestors, Korach says to Moses and Aaron, you've gone too far, for all the community are holy, all of them, and God is in their midst. Why then do you, Moses and Aaron, raise yourself above God's congregation? The modern Jewish philosopher Martin Buber was one of many biblical commentators who noted the difference between Korach and Moses' understanding of the Israelites' mission. Beyond Korach's lust for power, a yearning that ultimately leads to his demise, Buber identifies that Korach mistakenly understood God's statement on holiness to the people at Mount Sinai when God tells the Israelites that they were to be a holy nation unto God. Buber states that when Korach says to Moses, all the people are holy, all of them, Korach is interpreting holy to mean that the Israelites were now untouchable. Buber says that Korach says it didn't matter how the people acted because God had deemed them holy. Even the greatest sin of murder would not affect their status as a holy people, he thought. But Moses, Buber taught, Moses understood that the Israelites had to become holy.
All right, let's go.
And over and over again, forever and always. Moses knew he and they had to make choices each and every day in order to make holiness out of ordinary life. While the Torah does have sections within it, like this week's portion, where God does intervene in the story of our ancestors, the further we get from the start of the Torah, the fewer these episodes become. And as I mentioned to my friend who called this week, we may want to cede our power to God, but that is not how our world works now. It is up to us to address the issues that demand our attention. No doubt we are living at a time where we have all been reminded of how important our voices and actions are. Restating Martin Buber's words, we have to become holy over and over and over again and make choices each and every day to make holiness out of ordinary life. Such a charge is empowering as it is humbling. There is so much work to do that often it may feel overwhelming. And some of us felt this way even before the pandemic and the urgency of our nation's civil rights failures were upon us. I do take heart in the teaching of our sages that Rabbi Buchtel recently opened her letter on fighting racism to our congregation with. It comes from chapter 2 of Pirkei Avot, where our sages said, "It is not incumbent upon us to finish all the work, but neither are we free to absolve ourselves from it." So let us gird ourselves with the strength of our tradition, the understanding that we are connected to a treasured history and a people and a text that has set its sights on holiness, a holiness that we can make manifest, a holiness that we must make manifest with our very deeds. And so, my friends, it is up to us to keep each other as safe and as healthy as possible during this global health emergency. So let us be firm in our resolve to wear masks in public, even when it's hot, and to wash our hands religiously, and to be thoughtful and careful about how many people we congregate with until we have a vaccine or other ways to keep each other safe. It is up to us to take personal and communal action regarding our nation's history of racism against African Americans. Rabbi Buchtel's aforementioned letter to our community provides specific suggestions on how we can educate ourselves, connect with others, donate, and advocate to effect change. And you can find this important letter on the Central Synagogue website. It is up to us in our own personal lives to take the steps necessary to properly care for ourselves and our dear ones. Each of us is aware of ways we can better nurture each other, and many of us are engaged in these actions. Let us continue this sacred work. It is up to us. Through these actions and so many more, each of us can do our part in making our worlds and our world a bit more safe, a bit more sane, a bit more just, a bit more holy. Now, all that is left is for us to do it. Shabbat Shalom.